everybody. I'm Jonathan Randall, and welcome to another episode of How You Like Me Now. Hope everybody's doing well and having a great summer. Just a reminder, next week, July 27th, I will be doing another Save the Garden comedy show at the Elizabeth Street Garden. It is at 8 o'clock, July 27th, at the Elizabeth Street Garden, which is on Elizabeth Street in New York City between Spring and Prince. We are trying to save the garden. We're trying to raise awareness about the city trying to destroy it. I hope people will come out and support. It's going to be a great show. I'm hosting. Going to have some great comics on the show, and I hope to see everybody there. So police have searched a house in a Las Vegas suburb in connection to Tupac's murder. Yeah, I mean, it only took them 27 years, but they're on the case. So wouldn't it be cool if like the police went to this house and knocked on the door and they just had like Tupac's hologram holding the like search warrant? So like the person came and they're like, oh, I wonder what's going on. And they look through the peephole and it's just Tupac's hologram. I think that would have been pretty funny. I don't know whose house this is, and I don't know what the cops are like thinking, that whoever it is just gonna be like keeping the gun they used to shoot Tupac in their house for like 27 years and like didn't think like maybe I should get rid of this. But they're like, I gotta save this thing. It's gonna be a collector's item one day. They're like, I would totally get rid of this murder weapon because it's evidence, but instead I'm going to sell it on eBay. So there's not a lot of information about, why they went to that house, whose house it was. Pretty much all they've really released is that they did do a raid on a house and they had a search warrant for it. So maybe they'll finally crack the case and figure out who killed Tupac. It'd be good to know. It's kind of crazy that Tupac was murdered so long ago, but also he was only 25 years old. What a talent he was, that he only lived 25 years and he had such an impact, not only on music, but on pop culture. And with just only 25 years, like his legacy and the body of work that he created is going to live on for many, many other years. So I don't know who killed Tupac, but fuck them. And I hope that, we figure it out and we could solve the case. That'd be good, right? Anyways, I think that's crazy. Somewhere Tupac's hologram is like, we're going to find you, whoever you are. Let's see, what else is going on? Okay, they say 3 times the charm, and I'm hoping that will be the case for Trump, who's about to get his 3rd indictment for a criminal offense. The 3rd one seems to be coming after Trump said that he was issued like a target letter and that he's the target of a federal investigation into the January 6th insurrection, or as what Republicans like to call party at the Capitol. So, I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that in addition to him having, indictments for falsifying business records over hush money to a porn star and mishandling classified documents, Trump will be adding trying to overturn an election and starting an insurrection to, his lists of criminal charges. So stay tuned. We'll find out. Of course, lots of his supporters just continue to send him as much money as possible, which is ridiculous because he always talks about how rich he is, and people are just like so eager to give their hard-earned money to a guy who is, a liar, and he's a scumbag, and he's a criminal too. So hopefully maybe 3rd time's a charm, people will finally be like, oh gosh, yes, Trump isn't a good person, even though who knows if they'll be that way. Because typically they are just like, no, we love him, we don't care, no matter what he does, he's the best. But hey, 3rd one, and this is, I think, the big one, because, they have him on tape talking to people, being like, find me more votes. Obviously he did shady shit. Obviously, if it wasn't for him, there wouldn't have been an insurrection on January 6th. I hope he, faces some responsibility for what he's did, for the bullshit that he's put out there. So we'll see. My fingers are definitely crossed. So I was going to record an episode of the American Jew podcast today as well. It's a podcast that I've moved now into doing interviews. And I was actually going to interview this comedian who grew up Orthodox, was married off when she was 17 and to an older man. And then she kind of like escaped that kind of lifestyle. She's a comedian, a very vulgar comedian. But I was talking to somebody else and they were telling me about some of the work she does with like Orthodox communities and stuff. And I thought it'd be interesting to have someone that had like escaped on the show to hear that perspective. I wasn't sure where she stood on Israel, but I was open to whatever her beliefs were. And if it was different than my own, I was open to sharing that with people. But then I guess she didn't realize my stance on Israel. When she figured that out, she immediately canceled and said she won't do the show anymore. And I think that's just horrible as a person. First of all, she tries to be like this dirty, edgy comedian. You're not very edgy if you can't discuss things that are different than your own beliefs. And how confident are you even in your own beliefs if you can't even go on the podcast if somebody has a different beliefs than you? Like, Israel wasn't even going to be the main focus point of the interview, but this woman proved to be a coward, and I think she proved to be an idiot as well. I'm actually happy not to have her on the show, but I will be bringing voices on the show that are different from my own because I think that's important. I think that we can't live in an echo chamber where we only, hear similar opinions and thoughts and beliefs in our own, and it's very important that we hear and we understand and we listen to the other side, and then we could have a more educated perspective on things. Even if we don't agree with someone, it's still good to know what people that believe differently than us think. That's what I think. Anyways, I'm glad that girl's on the show. I would name her right now because I think she's a fucking idiot that she wouldn't come on, and I'd be happy to send people her way to call her out on being such a fucking loser. But she's not worth it. She's like a nobody of a comedian, which is a lot coming from me because I'm pretty much a nobody of a comedian. But I love comedy. Anyways, I never really thought she was funny, and now I don't think she's even a decent human being. I think she sucks. Speaking of Israel, it's amazing to me how many people are misinformed, how many people know nothing but the propaganda from Israel, and how many people are just ignorant to the reality of the hardships and the trauma that the Palestinian people have faced. So, one thing I've noticed that this is something that everybody should know. This is a given. Originally, Israel really tried to spread this narrative that the Palestinians all just got up and left, and that the Arab leaders told them that they should leave, and then after they were going to kill Israel, then they could go back to their homes. So Israel really tried to push this narrative super hard. It's come out in years later that this was not true. It was bullshit. It was all propaganda by Israel. Israel actually has a group of historians called the New Historians that challenged, what Israel was saying happened, and the timeline and what Israel was saying occurred in its creation, and they said this is really what happened. Israel finally opened up its archives for a little while, and people were able to see all these documents that before that nobody could see because Israel wanted to hide the truth from the world so they continue to spread their propaganda. The 100% truth of the matter is that many of the Palestinians that were living in Israel in 1948 were expelled from their land by Israeli forces. So one of the new historians is a guy named Benny Morris, and he has a book which is called The Birth of the Palestinian Refugee Problem, okay? So in this book, he examines 369 Arab towns and villages, and he lists the reasons for the Palestinian departures in each one. So, in 45 cases, he admits that he does not know what happened. He says, I don't know what happened. In 228 cases, he says Palestinians left after they were being attacked by Jewish troops. In 41 cases, he says they were forcibly expelled by military force. And in 90 places, he said Palestinians were in a state of panic following the fall of neighboring towns and villages, or for the fear of the enemy attack, or because of rumors circulated by the Jewish army, particularly those that went around after 250 Palestinians were massacred at Deir Yassin. And the news for that went everywhere. Like, they wanted people to know this so other Palestinians will get up and leave. So Benny Morris, an Israeli historian, he listed out all these things. So the majority of the people, they didn't leave like Israel wants to claim. He said he found only 6 cases of Palestinians leaving the villages after being instructed by Arab authorities. This is a quote. "There is no evidence to show that the Arab states and the AHC wanted a mass exodus or issued blanket orders or appealed to the Palestinians to flee their homes. On the contrary, anyone who fled was actually threatened with severe punishment." So he also noted that, part of Israel propaganda was that there were broadcasts on Arab radio stations telling people that they should leave and they should flee their homes. But a detailed listing of recordings of programs from that period shows that that was a totally invented claim and was just Israeli propaganda. So the fact that so many people are still holding on to these lies is absolutely insane, and it just shows the power of Israel's propaganda. So there were, Deir Yassin was a massacre that happened, many people know about, and there were plenty of atrocities that Palestinians faced in the hands of Israeli forces in 1948. So the Minister of Agriculture at the time, Aaron Zisling, he told the Israeli cabinet on November 17th, 1948, and this is a quote, "I couldn't sleep all night. I felt that things that were going on were hurting my soul, the soul of my family, and all of us here. Now Jews too have behaved like Nazis, and my entire being has been shaken." I'm glad that he was brave enough to admit and be honest about what was happening. And I mean, it's kind of still happening now. I mean, it started back then. But even in the beginning, it took more courage to admit what happened. And I'm glad he did. And it's just crazy that so many people want to be willfully ignorant to this. That, to deny the mass atrocities and the massacres faced by the Palestinians is just like denying the evils of the Holocaust, all right? We have to acknowledge that these things happen because it's the truth, even if it paints a bad picture about the creation of Israel. And the fact that so many people still believe in the lies Israel told about its creation is just so disturbing. And like I said, it shows how powerful Israeli propaganda truly is. Far too many people, they prefer to be ignorant to the truth about Palestinian expulsion because they don't want to face the truth that Israel's creation wasn't what they said, and it happened because of a lot of atrocities that the Israeli militias did on the Palestinian people. It's like if Americans believed, all the Native Americans, they just got up and left. And they were continuing to spread that bullshit, even though everybody knows that that is completely not true. Anyways, it's really sad because of Israel, they keep saying that they want peace. But if you really want peace, then the least you could do is admit the truth and be honest about the events that occurred that are, preventing peace from happening, But of course it says only the Palestinians are in the way of peace. Only the Palestinians are in the way of peace, which is so disturbing when they continue to perpetuate lies about how the Palestinians were being treated and how they are still being treated now. I mean, how can there be peace when so many people can't even be honest and acknowledge the truth about what really happened? So, it just bothers me so much to see people in my comments and they're so committed to being like, you're a liar. No Palestinians were ever expelled from the land when these are known facts at this point. Known facts. 100% Israeli forces expelled Palestinians from the land. Anyways, Another report recently came out from the Palestinian Red Crescent Society, where those are kind of like the ambulances, the medics that come to aid Palestinians, when they're hurt. And they said that attacks on Palestinian medics by the Israeli military has more than quadrupled in 2023. And that Israeli soldiers have physically assaulted, targeted ambulances with live ammunition, rubber bullets, and tear gas. They have blocked crews from accessing, the injured and getting them to hospitals. And the group said that it has recorded 193 incidents this year of Israeli forces either hurting or getting in the way of the Palestinian Red Crescents. Palestinian medics are at such risk that one of the number one medical supply requests that they have is for bulletproof vests, which is really disturbing because these are medics trying to go into the field and help people, and they're so concerned and they're worried about their lives because they're being targeted by the Israeli military. Anyways, I want to thank everybody who's been supporting my work, whether they believe what I have to say, whether they have different opinions than me, but I still appreciate their engagement online. I want to thank everybody for supporting this podcast or my other podcast, the American Jew Podcast. If you're not following me on social media, please do so at Jonathan Randall on all platforms. I also have a Ko-fi page where you could support me and we could have more contact with each other, where I put exclusive clips that are just for people that support me on Ko-fi. I will put the link to that in the description. Again, next Thursday, July 27th, Save the Garden, a comedy show at the Elizabeth Street Garden, 8 o'clock. I hope people will come out. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. I'm Jonathan Randall. How you like me now?